It's not in the face! Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Hey, Not the Face with your host, John Nash, and your producer, me, Steffi Haynes. And today there has been some seriously big news in the political sphere. And John and I figured that we were going to chat a little bit about it because it has rollout effects that really will put a stamp on the MMA community, on all of combat sports. And John will explain more of that as we get into it. But first, let's just check in with John and see how he's been doing and how he's handling the news that Biden is refusing the Democratic nomination for president.
What? When did this happen? I had no idea. How are we going to talk about this? I'm caught off guard. I'm not ready at all.
Oh, no, no.
I don't believe you. I got to check. Biden, the president, is not running for re-election? No.
Now, John, I want to start this really fast with something that you have said on this show more than once. But for new listeners, I want to reiterate, why was Biden such a good president in one particular area?
Well, yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to convince people that don't like Biden that he was a great president, or fans of him or just reinforce fans that he was a great president. But in certain areas, you cannot deny he did more than previous Democrats. And that mainly would be two spheres, labor and antitrust. Mm-hmm. Those two. On labor, he was definitely had gone further than any president in my lifetime, and I'm an old man, so we're talking, we got to go back to the Nixon era I was alive. So since then, there's been no president has appointed as many pro-union NLRB members or had as strong of NLRB, National Labor Relations Board, who are enforcing the National Labor Relations Act. No one has been as pro-union on that front. His Department of Labor had made a bunch of rulings that were very pro-worker. Just down the line, he walked on a picket line in support of unions. So a lot of very pro-labor members, and also, I guess, from the top on, that very pro-labor. And on the antitrust front, we are going to a Thurman Arnold, FDR era of antitrust, where for decades now, under the consumer welfare model that started in the 80s, we've seen very weak antitrust enforcement. He appointed Lena Khan at the FTC. He put Jason Kanner at the Department of Justice Antitrust Division. His special advisor in the National Economic Council for a while was Tim Wu, who helped him draft an executive order 14025, I believe it was, which is the whole of government effort to promote competition in the American economy by encouraging stronger enforcement antitrust law. Just unheard of antitrust actions, fighting market power, concentration by his government, and especially focused too on monopsony power. Before, because of the consumer welfare, labor issues were pretty much ignored under antitrust. But here they're like, if a concentration hurts workers, we are also going to go after it. So on those two fronts, you have to say, if that's two things I care strongly about, but those are things you're interested in. He has been very good at those two areas, which is why Bernie Sanders was a backer of Biden, considering they were competitors for the position.
And Bernie was backing him all the way, like when everybody else started coming out of the woodwork and calling for him to step aside. Bernie and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, they stood steadfast behind Biden all the way up until today.
Yeah, I think it was a political decision by them in many ways. A lot of people thought Biden had to step down because of the bad debate. And, the public at large had questions about his state of his health and mental capacity to do the job. But for Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, you can understand why they backed Biden. I think this is missed by a lot of people on the left. He even told Sanders, if you can get it through the Senate and to my desk, I will sign it. I don't care about what it costs. So basically he gave a green light to Sanders to try to get whatever he could through the Senate, and they did get, the IRA and the American Rescue Plan. They got a lot of major reconciliation bills passed that Biden signed. Now, it was limited because you only had 50-50 in the Senate at the time. And as Bernie Sanders will point out, two of those people were working against you most of the time in Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema. But he did, for Sanders, who tried to push this stuff, he got whatever he could get to the Senate. Biden would sign, and Biden appointed. Let's not forget, it was leaked before Biden took office back in 2021 that his Lena Khan, Jason Kanter, and Tim Wu would be kind of head of his antitrust. That was the dream team that Sanders was going to bring in. So for Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez, yes, Biden was not the perfect, leftist, social democrat or democratic socialist candidate. But from their position with a 50-50 Senate, he was basically agreeing to everything they could get to him that could get passed.
Yeah, I think that we're in for a really bumpy road. And I don't know. I want to ask you your opinion on this. Do you think Kamala can win? We're going to have less than 3 months for her to campaign because she does not have the Democratic nomination. She has endorsements. And the one endorsement that's sticking out to me right now that she did not get was Obama's. Both the Clintons endorsed her, the Bidens have endorsed her. Everybody's endorsing her. But Obama says we should have a Democratic nomination process. That's what he wants. So let me ask you, what do you think her chances are with less than 3 months to campaign?
Well, I think her chances are pretty good because there is such a short time. There'll be a rallying effect. Majority Democrats are more nervous about Trump than they are about our candidate being the Democratic candidate. I'm not a Democrat, but I do generally lean Democrat because of labor issues. But anyways, get that out of the way. But they're focused on their candidate less than they are on Trump. So I think that'll help. Now, on some ways, Obama and other leaders of the Democratic Party saying they need to have decided in a convention is probably to quell the ideas we're just appointing someone, right? So it might be good politics. But there is a theory too that in many ways that they want to get rid. One is a lot of people don't think she might not win. I think she will win Democrats she'll get their vote easily. Yeah. It's the non-Democrats. The question is, can she win the people that have been leaving the Democratic Party? Can she get enough of them back to make sure they win? And I have a lot of questions about that because what the Democratic Party has been losing is the working class. And they've been losing the working class mostly on cultural issues. There's a paper by Thomas Piketty, he's one of the co-authors, about the Brahmin left and the merchant right, which I think sums it up just perfectly, is that it's the split now is not economic like it used to be. The split is education. And the left is being taken over more and more by the upper educated college graduates. And so the working class is defined by those as without a college degree are migrating to the right-wing parties in Europe and here in the United States. So they're like the Republican Party. And a lot of it's cultural because educated people in the West, we call them weird because they're Western educated. They have all these beliefs that are different than the rest of the world. Even if you can say the beliefs are right, but it does turn off other people. And so the problem I think you're going to run in with Kamala Harris is she is a perfect representative of the Brahmin educated left, right? She doesn't have the aesthetics of the working class. I would classify her up till now as part of the performative left. In other words, they do all the symbolic stuff like an HR department, the symbolic stuff. And that's a huge turn off to the working class. So can she win people back? I'm not sure. And I'm not sure you can even have you propose policies that win people back because people don't pay attention to that. Everything has now become so much of a culture war that actual policy proposals don't shift people's positions. They look, they don't care about your voting record and what you vote for. It's what they just feel that you represent. And so I think she might be in trouble there. The other possibility too is Matthew Iglesias and David Shore kind of gave this away. I think there's a branch of the Democratic Party that don't like what Biden has done with antitrust because it's chased away Silicon Valley. And you can say, well, a good riddance, or, that should we not enforce these laws on monopoly? I think that their problem is not that they disagree with the policy of going at antitrust enforcement, that the economic theories are incorrect. Their problem is you've chased away good donor money. And these people have a lot of power in Silicon Valley. They control social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook and get messaging out for us. They have tons of money to donate. And so we should, in replacing Biden, we should make sure we put someone in as our candidate that's not going to bring along the Lena Khans and Cantors and all these antitrust enforcers, so that the Silicon Valley billionaires will come back to the Democratic Party. So there's also a chance that that's happening.
So you're kind of on the fence too as to whether she can actually win.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens going forward. I mean, I have no clue what's going to happen with the general public, but one of my senses is that aesthetically, I mean, Joe Biden, part of the reason there was a migration of working class, especially whites, back to the Democratic Party in 2020 is Joe Biden gave off the appearance of a working class guy, right? Talked kind of a regular working class language. One of the problems that Kamala Harris might have is she is upper educated and she speaks like a professional class person. Let's not race and being a woman might be a problem too, especially more now than in the past, because we have had this kind of this blowback, this building hostility towards, I guess, the over feminization, as I use in air quotes, of America, because you have seen like this rampant hostile to women on Twitter. It's more than bizarre, but there has been this backlash over the last few years. But of course, at 2016, Hillary, people say, "Oh, America won't vote for a woman." Hillary, who was I think everybody agrees was kind of a terrible candidate in many ways, she won the popular vote and was very close to winning. So I don't think that that says a woman can't win, because she easily could have won the last election, 2016. But I don't know if Kamala Harris is the right woman, because I don't know if she hits the right cultural buttons that you need to get votes.
And that is where I'm at. I support Kamala for getting in there and getting the job done. I do. If that's the way we're going, I'm fine with it. But I don't think she can win, honestly. I don't. If she goes up against Trump has woken up something in Americans too, in that lots of Americans are feeling like it's okay to come out of the closet with their racism. And that is something that has been pervasive over this whole 8 years that Trump has been in politics. I mean, it's obvious too. If you look at the political climate across just social media, I mean, it's insane. And it's very clear that Trump sort of, his whole campaign, his whole presidency, 4 years ago, this current, I mean, look at how they have united behind him despite 34 felonies, despite clear defrauding of people and things like that. I mean, he is a criminal, and they have united behind him like he is, the Messiah. It's terrifying a little bit, the position we're in right now.
Well, I mean, Richard Rorty, I don't know if you know that, he's an author from the 90s, political scientist from the 90s, passed away since then, but he basically predicted a Trump figure, and that would open the floodgates to public use of slurs and more racism and homophobia. But part of the blame too, he said, was that there would be the upper educated policing of the working class would be shattered, and I think that's part of it. Is we have this, that's where the Brahmin left, merchant right comes in. The idea that the Brahmin left, there is on many things, I agree with the left, but the language is, and James Carville is someone I hold I dislike immensely for the people he got elected to office that put us in this trouble because they hammered unions. They made the left, the Democratic Party, a much less labor party. But he brought it up as that you can't have your party talk like they're in the faculty lounge.
Yeah.
And that's part of the Democratic image is we are smarter than you. And there's just and I get friends when they make fun of people that have regular working class jobs or come from the Midwest and stuff. And it's like, do you guys realize you are the problem? You look down on it. You pretend you don't, but you do look down on people. And that's and a lot of this might be status jockeying, people jockeying for status position. But that's one of the issues, and I don't know. I don't have a solution for that stuff. But like I said, I'm pretty much a one track voter, a one issue voter, and that's labor for me. I mean, there's other issues, but that's my primary labor, and I guess and market concentration and power. But and for that, I've been pleasantly because if people paid attention, I was just terrified of a Joe Biden presidency because as a senator, he was god awful.
Yep, he sure was.
Just absolutely god awful. But I was pleasantly surprised at what he did on those fields as president. So I can't complain about in those areas, considering that, again, they had only a 50-50 split in the Senate. And then just the courts are stacked with Federalist judges now.
So let's spin this back around into our wheelhouse for a moment here, because to access the bonus content of this episode, you must be a paid subscriber. To do that, go to heynottheface.substack.com and subscribe today.
Ow! Ow! Not the face! Ooh! Okay, the face!